Today I'm going to present to you a proposed client selection process. This is in light of the new opportunity to provide management services to Firm X. I'll be using 4 criteria in order to assess whether to provide services to the new client. These are: 1. Is the client strategically important? 2. Will the client significantly contribute to revenue? 3. Is the client profitable? And finally, will this client be loyal? Each of these criteria is of equal value and will now be examined in detail. I'll first be looking at how a client can be strategically important. A client that is strategically important to our business is a client that is in line with our business's strategic plan and will provide our business opportunity to grow. This can be evaluated against a range of factors as seen on slide 3. When discussing strategic fit, it is very important to mention ethical considerations. As a business, we have our own ethical principles we should consider when selecting a new client as part of implementing our business strategy. Furthermore, to be seen as operating unethically or having a relationship with a firm that operates unethically can negatively impact opportunities for business growth. Thus, any potential client should be assessed against ethical considerations such as employment, health and safety standards, environmental and sustainability efforts, and legal compliance issues. Some of the more important ethical issues for us are set out on slide 5. The current prospective client, Client X, has recently been in the media over questionable treatment of staff. We as a business can conduct an external audit of this company to see that no human rights are being violated. However, a deal with the prospective client can not just be made based on how it fits with our overall strategy and ethical considerations. Another important criteria is whether this client will be significant to our business. Clearly, the greater the revenue provided by the client, the greater significance it has to our business. It is also important to consider the potential revenue that can be gained from the client by expanding the range of services we provide to it. Significance therefore has both quantitative and timing considerations. Equally as important as revenue to our business is profits. The new client may bring in high revenue, but if the cost to our business of providing these services does not allow for the margin set out in our strategic plan, then we should not proceed unless we renegotiate the price. When determining if the client is profitable, we must consider 2 things. Firstly, the payment details, and secondly, the cost of supplying services. Payment details include the certainty of the client's payments for the services and whether it will pay on time and fully. The inability of the new client to pay completely on time will affect our cash position and working capital cost. Secondly, we must look at the cost of supplying the services to this client. If the services require additional investment such as new plant or technology, as well as being very staff intensive, the pricing must be sufficient or the supply arrangement will erode our profit margin. As noted on slide 10, there are many elements in determining the actual profitability of a proposed relationship. The final criterion is whether the prospective client will be loyal. Loyalty is an important aspect of any business relationship as it sets the tone for the relationship and the investment appetite of our business. If the client is loyal and only uses the services from our business, then it will justify greater investment as we will not be threatened by competitors and have a steady stream of revenue. However, if this prospective client is transaction driven, it will justify less investment as they may switch to another service provider quickly. As noted in slide 12, it is critical to understand if this new client is relationship or transaction driven. In summary, the proposed process for determining whether the client is appropriate for our business involves 4 interrelated criteria, each of which involves a number of details as set out in slide 13. The quality of this process will depend significantly on the availability of the appropriate information. Slide 14 demonstrates that there are a number of sources of information that could be used to assess the new client. These include internal documents such as our strategic plan, capital budgeting information, and proposed service fee, as well as external reports such as annual reports of the client, credit reports, external audits, and transaction history of the client. It is unlikely that every new client will satisfy all 4 criteria to a similar level. Every potential relationship will have its strengths and weaknesses. The extent to which the new potential client satisfies most of the criteria is the extent to which this will be an appropriate client to provide services to. In the case of Client X, if a further review of the media reports or an external audit raises ethical considerations, it will be necessary to decide whether during the course of the potential relationship the unethical behavior can be modified or not. If the behaviors can be modified, a relationship can be pursued. And if not, we must be extremely cautious and only pursue the relationship if the client satisfies the other 3 criteria complete.